The story starts with a brave adventurer named Rent exploring a dungeon. He encounters a terrifying winged monster bearing two mouths. The monster attacks, leaving Rent shocked to find himself alive but now a skeleton. He recalls his humble origins in a small town, where he takes jobs from the Adventurers Guild based on rank and skill. Rent prefers solo adventures due to his lack of skill. Despite 10 years of adventuring, he remains at a low bronze rank, making a living from cautious jobs. As he enters the labyrinth, his life takes a drastic turn. In a deserted dungeon, Rent discovers a secret passageway, excited by the prospect of finding valuable magical weapons and potentially reporting his discovery to the guild for profit. Despite being devoured, Rent remains conscious as an undead, contemplating his existence and fearing capture if he returns to town. Unable to find answers, he decides to leave the room, pondering the mysteries of labyrinths filled with valuable treasures and lurking monsters. In a few days, solo adventurers will arrive at the new labyrinth, and Rent plans to seek advice from them. However, he realizes he must learn to communicate without a tongue. Suddenly, an actual skeleton monster appears, and Rent prepares to fight his twin despite feeling heavy and weak due to his lack of muscles. Unable to use fancy sword techniques, Rent taps into his spirit energy to enhance his physical abilities and defeats the skeleton. To his surprise, he regains the spirit energy he used. Reflecting on this, Rent recalls a lesson about monsters evolving over time and experiences, similar to humans' growth through training. Meanwhile, in the dungeon, Rent defeats 5 skeletons, regaining his mobility and discovering that light from defeated enemies heals him, allowing him to use spirit energy in every battle. He encounters a slime, knowing physical attacks are ineffective against it but lacking offensive magic. Despite the odds, Rent manages to defeat it by striking its core, collecting a magic stone as his prize. He sells the slime later, unaware that a newbie adventurer is exploring the same labyrinth in search of treasure and materials. Rent reflects on his lack of sleep or hunger, realizing any food he eats would simply pass through his bones. Rent continues fighting non-stop, realizing that existential evolution takes time. His physical abilities and mana usage return, but what surprises him most is retaining his divinity despite being undead. Divinity can purify water and delay food spoilage, extending the life of bread by 3 days. Despite feeling weak after 10 years of adventuring and 20 years of training, Rent remains determined to achieve his goal of becoming a mythical class adventurer, the highest rank. Sometime later, Rent is seen fighting some dangerous goblins in the dungeon. Using his increased agility and enhanced abilities, Rent isolates and defeats a couple of them. He hears fighting nearby and discovers a girl from the guild effortlessly dispatching a weak skeleton. Rent hesitates to approach her, aware of his ghoul appearance, and decides to observe her from a distance. He realizes she must be a rookie adventurer, unfamiliar to him despite his knowledge of most adventurers in town. Continuing to follow her discreetly and notes the encounters she faces. Observing the girl's fight, Rent notices her well-trained yet weak approach, overly focused on attack and neglecting her surroundings. She's cornered by a skeleton until Rent intervenes, surprising her with his ghoul appearance. Assuring her safety, Rent introduces himself, unable to fully explain his situation. The girl, Reena, grateful for his help, agrees to buy him a robe for his return to town. She reveals herself as the daughter of a knight and promises assistance for Rent's aid. Back in town, Reena rushes to the guild with urgent questions, leaving Rent to contemplate his newfound strength and combat intuition, which he believes surpasses mere training or study. Rent reflects on the irony of gaining the power he desired most after ending up in his current undead body. He's surprised to see Reena return, reassuring her that he's not just another ghoul. Despite still being terrified, Reena brings him clothes, boots, gloves, and bandages, thoughtfully considering his appearance and needs. Rent appreciates her gestures, putting on the robe and feeling surprisingly comfortable. However, when Reena presents a mask to hide his face, it inexplicably attaches itself firmly, alarming them both. Reena recalls buying it from a suspicious shop for a low price, but assures Rent she checked it for curses. Rent suspects the mask may have a curse activated upon wearing it. Reena is shocked by Rent's ability to use divinity, prompting him to consider using it to break the curse. However, he exhausts his energy, leading Reena to apologize. Rent explains that the mask responded to his divinity, suggesting he can break the curse with a powerful cleric's help. He tries to reassure Reena but withdraws, wary of his monstrous appearance. Despite this, Reena realizes Rent is not a bad person and promises to get used to his presence. As they head back to town, Reena shares her goal of becoming a full-fledged adventurer, seeking strength and adventure. Rent jokes about their unusual situation, and they share a laugh. Upon arrival, Rent notes the risk of revealing his identity, prompting them to use another gate. He expresses gratitude for Reena's help, but she insists it's no big deal and is willing to risk her life for him, considering him the reason she's alive after the skeleton attack. At the west entrance, Rent and Reena's identities as adventurers are confirmed, but a guard takes issue with Rent's unusual appearance. Thinking quickly, Reena explains that Rent's mask is cursed, and he can't remove it due to disfiguring injuries from a monster attack. She points out his scarred ear as proof. The guards sympathize with Rent's misfortune, and Rent offers to let them try to remove the mask, proving its curse when their attempt fails. Rent credits Reena for their success, but she insists it's repayment. Suddenly, Rent disappears, leaving Reena searching desperately. Despite her good nature and skills, Rent knows he must leave her. He heads to find a more suitable ally, Lorraine, someone with a past and the ability to keep secrets. Without warning, Rent reveals his ghoulish arm to her, leaving her shocked. Moments earlier, Lorraine considered sending a search party for Rent, but is relieved when he knocks on her door. In the present, she doubts Rent's story of being turned undead by a dragon, but reluctantly accepts it due to his appearance. Rent marvels at Lorraine's calm demeanor, typical of an academic mage adventurer. Lorraine questions Rent's identity now that he's undead, to which Rent can't answer definitively. Despite this, Rent remains determined to become a mithril adventurer. Recognizing his value for her research, Lorraine offers him a place to stay and work together, with the condition she won't dissect him. The next day, Lorraine pays Rent directly for dungeon materials, while Rent orders a new sword from the blacksmith, revealing his rare abilities. Meanwhile, Lorraine researches ghouls, noting their physical prowess and preference for animal meat, with some cases involving powerful monsters transforming humans into lesser undead. In such cases, victims lose not just their personalities, but also their human will and emotions. Ren is a rare case. Lorraine doubts he retains his past identity. Still, she feels close to him and perceives him as Ren. Back at the shop, Ren thanks the blacksmith for the temporary sword. Cull senses Ren's distress, wondering why he didn't seek their help, suspecting a severe curse affecting their shop. Later, Ren and Lorraine dine with Chef Dragon, though Ren abstains due to lack of hunger. Lorraine remarks on Ren's uniqueness among ghouls and ponders his next evolutionary step, to which Ren has no answer. Ren aims to maintain his humanity by returning to the labyrinth to confront monsters and grow stronger. While there, he saves a man from a slime attack before leaving, pondering adventurer's self-reliance. Despite this, Ren aids when possible. Impressed, the man, a chef-turned-adventurer due to debts, asks to join Ren's party. Ren, hesitant at first, agrees, empathizing with the man's struggles. As they explore, they find a hidden passage but no magic items. The man suggests reporting to the guild for fame and fortune, but Ren declines, preferring anonymity. They encounter a magic circle, which the man ignores, leading to his teleportation. Despite considering abandoning him, Ren decides to rescue the man. Entering the circle, Ren finds him in a boss room with a giant skeleton, preparing for battle. He realizes the giant skeleton is immune to spirit energy, so he tries magic, which also fails. Trapped in a room until the boss is defeated, Ren considers his options. He attacks with his sword, but realizes it's ineffective against the undead skeleton. Turning to divinity, he successfully brings down the skeleton. Ren shares a moment with a side character, amazed by Ren's victory and the loot obtained. Ren, needing assistance, strikes a deal with the character, revealing his disfigured skin. In exchange for help with errands, Ren secures free meals at the character's restaurant. Ren guides the character home, where his wife thanks Ren for his aid. The character, Loris, promises Ren meals whenever he desires. As Ren departs, he wishes Loris were a villain to test something, hinting at a darker motive. Ren, avoiding closeness, refrains from asking for the guy's name. He obsessively repeats Lorraine's name, feeling something overtaking him. Returning home, Ren's behavior alarms Lorraine, who questions his well-being. Ren, seemingly happy, unexpectedly embraces her, prompting Lorraine to suspect drunkenness. Ren bites her neck, proclaiming her taste delicious. Recognizing Ren's struggle, Lorraine subdues him and waits for his apology upon awakening. Ren, no longer feeling controlled, apologizes, dismissing the incident as accidental. He recalls encountering a person in a dungeon and being tempted by their flesh. Lorraine, understanding the situation, suggests rest. Ren, insistent, heals her wound with newfound divinity, astonishing Lorraine with his abilities. She notices Ren's changing body, attributing it to his enhanced divinity. Ren manipulates his mask's shape, realizing its responsiveness to his desires. Unable to remove it, he embraces the need to conceal his face. Ren ponders if he underwent existential evolution, considering his recent victory over a powerful monster. Reflecting on his previous evolution, he wonders if it occurred due to consuming Lorraine's flesh and blood, explaining his shift from ghoul to ghast-like appearance. Lorraine notes the mystery surrounding existential evolution's origins and its unpredictable outcomes.